A lease is a agreement to occupy or to have rights over a property. It applies to both commercial and residential. So very commonly in the residential field, you will take a lease of a flat, a 99-year lease, a 125-year lease. It is a right to occupy or own a property. It's particularly on residential where you have two flats in a building. You can have the freehold, but because you have two interests in a property on effectively one area of land going up, you have two leasehold interests, and it's a way of splitting up that freehold interest to have two occupiable or owning interests in that land. When it comes to commercial property, a lease is normally a shorter term arrangement than it is on a residential, so it'll be more akin to a rental agreement, only for a longer term. So I would take a 15-year lease on a shop with 5 yearly reviews on the rent. So it's not quite the 99 long-term lease that you'd have on a residential property, and it's not the year or two AST that you might have on a lettings property. It's something between the two. It's ownership, but it's still at a rental value. Very often when you're taking a new lease, either as a new business or as a multiple retailer with strong negotiating power, you would say the landlord clearly would prefer a 15-year lease, a long-term tenancy. But if you have a strong negotiating position like a multiple retailer, or you're a new business and you don't want to tie yourself to being in occupation of a shop for a full 15-year period, you might say to the landlord, can I have a 15-year lease with a break clause at the end of the 5th year? That way it gives the landlord some stability. He knows he's got a tenant for 5 years, but it also gives the tenant flexibility whereby after 5 years, if things aren't working out, they can surrender the lease back to the landlord by optioning that break clause, give him the keys and walk away without being tied for another 10 years, and either having to stay in occupation, pay off the lease, or assign the lease.